Welcome back to the channel, and this is going to be the instructional video for this one. So the last video that I put out before this one was me just doing it to music. So if you were interested, or maybe you picked up on all the wonderful things that I did in that one, but in this video I'm going to explain to you exactly what I did and some of my thought processes. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to kind of analyze this drawing a little bit, and I'm going to analyze it for the reason of the isometric. So what I'm meaning by that is that when we're creating these isometric arcs, we have to know where this circle is and where the center of them are, right? So let me go ahead and put up my drawing tool, and this is going to help me explain what I'm going to do when I get to that portion. Okay, so I know the radius of this circle, right? And that's given to us right here. So we see that that distance is 100, whatever the units are, and we're just going to call them millimeters, but it's going to be 100 millimeters. And I don't know if you can see the center of that, but the center of this circle is right here, right? So we know the distance from here going straight down to this point is 100. So that is easy enough to figure out. But now I need to create an intersection up there to find out where that circle is, right? Or where the center of this point is. Well, is there a way I can calculate from this center to that center and from this center to that center? Well, quick answer for that is going to be yes, right? So the first one we need to do is figure out how far is it to this center. And you'll notice that the radius here is given to me as, what, 150? So we're going to go half of 150, should be 75, right? And so if we add 75 to the radius here and make that distance of 175, that's going to give me that whole entire length that I'm going to need for this circle. So when I get to creating this isometric here, you're going to see me draw one circle that's going to be at the 175. And then let's take a look at this side here. To get to this center, or to this distance here, we need to go and take a look over here, and we see that that number is going to be 80, right? So we're talking in radius here, so half of our 80 is 40, so we know that that number is 40, so that total length going all the way up to here should be 140. All right, so if I draw two circles, and these are going to be isocircles, from those centers, one that has a radius from here at 140 and one that has one at 175, you're going to see that they do in fact do an intersection here. And then from there, I'll simply draw my circle. That's going to give me my 100-degree radius, right? So that's going to be my thought process when I get to creating the isometric. As far as everything else on this drawing, it should be pretty much straightforward to it. It's a bunch of circles. We got some fillets. And then we got down here at the bottom where we're going to figure out these heights, right? So that should be everything that we need. So next, we're going to go ahead and jump over and go ahead and create a new one, right? And the way we're going to do that is just by simply clicking on this plus here. Once we click on the plus icon, we're going to give AutoCAD a little bit of second to switch over. I'm going to start off by turning off the grid. I'll go ahead and turn my ortho on. And then let's go ahead and take a look at my running O snaps that I typically have on. All right. Next thing that I'm going to do is that, well, there was a new command that I learned, and I don't know if anyone has ever showed you this. If these are the running O snaps that you do have on, there's a way that you can just type in a number. These are associated with a number. And the command for that is going to be called OSMODE, right? O snap mode. And you'll see that it'll give me a number of 4279, right? So if I go ahead and clear this, and this is kind of something that is super neat that I learned, and actually I use 4242, but I'm going to use the 4379, and I go and I clear all of this, and I use that command again, right? If I go to OS mode, and then I go ahead and type in whatever the number is, and it still has the 4279. I don't think I actually cleared it. Let's go back to the OSNAP settings here, and then let's go to clear all. I said okay, and you can see that it is indeed cleared. And then if I go to OS mode, and I'll type in 4279 and hit enter, when I come back and take a look at my O snaps, it's going to have on all the O snaps that I typically like to have turned on. So this is one of those kind of shortcut things that you can do if you want to have your O snaps set up just like me, right? So that's going to be 4279. Okay, so now that we have that situated, let's go ahead and start creating our circles, right? We're going to start off by creating a big circle that has a diameter of 150. So let's go to circle, center, diameter. Let's click here, and let's go ahead and tell it that it's going to be 150. All right, I'm going to zoom the extents, zoom out a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and place my other circle on the inside of that one. So let's go back to circle, center, diameter. Let's go find the center here. Let's go ahead and click it here. And then this one has a diameter of 120. Then we have one more circle with a center diameter. And let's go ahead and place that one here with a diameter of 100. Okay, so those are all the circles that I need for my center portion here. Let's go ahead and create the one that's located on this side, right? We can use some kind of shortcuts if you want to use that way of doing this. And what I mean by that is I'm just going to select these two circles here on the inside. I'm going to use the copy command. I'm going to pick a base point, which is somewhere out here, and I'm going to drag over this direction and give it a distance of 150. Right? Let's escape out of this one. And then we're going to use the shortcuts of using the quick properties, right? So I'll select this circle. Let's do a right click and come down to quick properties. And inside the quick properties, we can go ahead and define whichever one we want, the diameter or the radius. Let's call this diameter 50. Let's escape out of here. Let's go back and select this one, do a right click and go to the quick properties of here. And then let's give this diameter 80. All right, so that's one way that you can use the quick option here to select that, or those menus or those quick properties, in order to do that rather quickly. All right, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and put the fillets on here, right? So we're going to use the fillet command. We're going to go ahead and set the radius. We're going to set this radius equal to 100. Go ahead and hit enter. We have multiple, so let's hit the multiple option here. And then we're going to select this part of this circle and this part of this one, and likewise here at the bottom. So that circle and that one. Okay, let's escape out of this command. Next, we're going to mirror this. So I'm just going to use the mirror command. I'm going to select all of these objects on this side. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to go from this quadrant, going straight up to this quadrant. Hit enter after that. All right. And then finally we have to trim, right? So let's go ahead and use the trim command. And then we're going to trim off these extra portions here. Okay. So the top view, really simple to draw and create. Let's go ahead and create this bottom view, or actually in this case it's going to be a section view. So I'm going to use a construction line, and then I'm going to make that construction line vertical. And then I'm just going to select along the quadrants that are right in here. So I'm going to select these quadrants. Coming to the inside here, and I'm just going right along this line here and selecting all of these quadrants. Okay, and once you're done selecting your quadrants, go ahead and hit the escape button. All right, so that's going to be all the lines that we should need. Let's create a line going straight under here, like so. Just make sure that that line crosses this line and that one. I'm going to use the copy command. Select the line you just created, hit enter, pick a base point somewhere along here. I'm just going to aim it up, and I'm going to type in 20, hit enter, 40, enter, and then 70, enter. Go ahead and hit escape after that. All right, so now we're ready to start doing all of our trimming. Let's use the EX trim command first. So type in EX trim, hit enter. I'm going to select this top line here, and then click above it. I'll just hit enter on my keyboard, select this bottom line, click below it. Hit enter again, select this line here to the right, and then click to the right of it. And then finally one more enter, select this line here, and then click to the left. Okay, So all of that is done. I have my shape defined here. All I need to do now is just kind of finish trimming all of this out and everything should be here. So let's go ahead and use the trim command. We know that this big part here is in the middle, so I'm just going to trim off these lines here. I'm just going to run a line going straight across here. Likewise here, so I'm just doing one single click there and come across. That's going to allow me to come back and erase this line here as one total unit. Okay, we're going to work our way on the inside of here, so I'm just going to trim these out like so, and I'm going to do this on both sides. So I'm going to trim over here on this one, and then we're going to start working here on the bottom, right? So I'm just going to walk this one back over to this point. Exact same thing here on the other side. And then let's go ahead and get these bottom portions off. Let's do the same here. And then we're going to trim out in between here. Okay. Let's hit the escape button. And now our whole section view is actually created here, right? So now we're ready to create the isometric. Okay, so let's go ahead and give ourselves a little real estate here. And then we're going to start off by creating this. Remember, we have to use the ellipse command. So EL, enter, then I enter. Oh, it won't let me do that, and you'll notice that that error is not letting me select the ISO circle. I kind of jumped the gun on it. I need to tell it that I'm going to create an isometric, so I'm going to select that icon here. And then we need to switch to isometric top. And now we should be ready. So EL, enter, I enter, then I'll click here as my center. I'm going to select the diameter option, and then I'll type in the diameter, which is going to be 150. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and create the circle that's here. That's 150 away from it, right? So I'm just going to create a line from this center going this direction at 150. Go back to the ellipse. So EL, enter, I enter. Let's go ahead and click on this endpoint here. Type in D for diameter, and then give it the diameter of 80. All right. And we have the exact same thing happening on the other side. So I'm just going to select this line here. Select the move option, go from this endpoint to that endpoint, and then I'll go to copy, select this circle here, enter, find the center, and then place it there. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the erase button on this. And now we have to figure out those circles. So this is what I was referencing to at the beginning of this video. How are we going to make these fillets here, right? So remember that I told you to go ahead and make an ellipse, iso circle, and hit the iso circle from this center. And it has a radius of 175. Right? And then we're going to create another ellipse. So EL, enter, iso circle. So I enter. I'm going to go from this center. And then this one has a a radius of 140, right? So where these lines intersect at is going to be the center of the fillet that I need to create. So I'm just going to go back to ellipse. I enter for iso circle. So let's go ellipse, iso circle right here at this center, or at the intersection of here. And this one has a radius of 100, right? And you can see that it does indeed touch that, right? All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to copy this circle from this center over to this one. And what this is going to allow me to do is just go ahead and copy this in all the other places. So I'll go back to the copy command, select this ellipse here, go from this intersection, and then I'm just going to place it at this intersection here, and then finally this intersection here. All right. Let's go ahead and get rid of those circles that are right along here in the middle. So once I delete those, you should have this shape, right? Let's use the trim command. And then we should be able to trim off all of these extra pieces here. Right? And then let's go ahead and also trim off these portions here. And I'm going to leave these circles complete. All right. Let's go ahead and switch to an isometric left. And then I'm going to copy these circles from a base point here. And let's go up a height of 20. Right, so I'm getting this directly off the drawing. Let's create a line. find the quadrant that's located here and here. Likewise, let's go back to the line command. We should have a vanishing quadrant sitting there. Okay, so the rest of this, all I have to do is just trim off the portions that I don't need right now. And let's go ahead and use the trim command. And I'm just going to get rid of this bottom stuff here first. So I'm going to start off with these circles here. And then what we're going to do is just get rid of these bottom lines that are going around here. Let's go ahead and zoom into these corners here. We should have the same thing going on this side. Okay. So now we have these drawn, right? Let's go ahead and switch back to an isometric top, right? So I'll go to isometric top. I'm going to create another ellipse, isocircle. Let's go find the center of here. And then let's create it as a diameter. So D for diameter, 120. Let's go back and place another one. I'm going to select here. Let's go, I'm sorry, EL, enter, I enter. Let's go find the center of this one. Let's go ahead and type in D, enter. This one is at 100, right? So now we have to do a little bit of math. Remember that the overall height of this thing is 70. The thickness that we went up so far is 20, so 70 minus 20 should be 50. Let's go ahead and go to copy, switch to an isometric left, select these cylinders here, hit enter. A base point, and I'm just going to go up a height of 50. Let's go ahead and escape out of here. I'm going to draw a line from that quadrant to this one, and we also have one on this side. So we've got a line going from that quadrant to that quadrant. Let's go ahead and erase this circle inside of here for now. I'm going to trim off this portion on the inside. So I'm just going to trim around to here. And I'm also going to trim off this extra portions that's running around between here. All right. So we have this shape created. Now remember how far it is to go down to the bottom of this, right? The top of this is at 70, right? So it needs to be a distance of 70 going down here. I'm just going to check and see if this inside circle here shows through at the bottom, right? So I'm just going to go to copy. I'm going to select this circle, go ahead and hit enter, pick a base point here, come straight down, type in 70 and hit enter. Okay, so if anything shows above this line, that means that it does show through. Let's go ahead and trim this portion off. So I'm just going to trim here and here. Let's escape out of that command and delete the rest. All right, so we do have a little gap that's actually showing through there. All right, so now we're ready to create this side. So I'm just going to go here, select this, and go to copy, pick a base point here. Remember that the height of these are sitting at 40. We still have our overall height there sitting at 20. So 40 minus 20 should give me another 20 to go up. All right, let's go ahead and put a couple of vanishing lines on here. I'm going to draw a line from this quadrant, going straight up to that quadrant. And on the other side, I'm just going to hit the extend button. So EX, enter. And I'm just going to send this line going up that direction. Okay. Now let's start trimming. So I'm going to trim off. And the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this portion here. And then we see that this line comes around. So all of this will not be showing. All right. And also this portion will not be showing. All right, let's go ahead and put that other ellipse here at the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch back to an isometric top. I'm going to type in EL, enter, I enter. Let's go find the center here at the top. Let's type in D, enter. And this one has a diameter of 50. Okay, once again, we're going to check and see if this shows through at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to an isometric left. I'm going to choose copy, so I'll type in copy, select this circle here, hit enter, pick a base point somewhere along here, come down, and then the height here is 40. So once I type in 40, and you can see that I do not see that showing through at the bottom, so I don't have to worry about that circle. Let's go ahead and hit delete. And that side is done. Let's go ahead and work on this top portion. So the exact same thing we did before. We're going to select here, copy this, go up a height of 20. We're going to draw a line going from this vanishing edge here, going straight up to here. We're going to extend the other one, so I'm just using the extend command. I'll select that line there. I'm going to trim off these portions that I don't need, so I'll go to the trim command, and I'm just typing in trim this time. I'm going to get rid of all of this going around here. Okay, and then we know that this portion, it comes around and it shows, but it does not show here. All right, last step I need to do is just copy this circle over to the other one. So I'll go to copy, select that Isocircle there, hit enter, go find the center of it, click here, and then go find the center that's located here. Or I could have copied it over at a distance of 150, right? So that's all I'm going to need to do to create this ellipse here, or sorry, this isometric here. So now we're ready to create the drawing portion of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is get out of the isometric command here. I'm going to go find the center here. Start off by creating a rectangle. So let's use a rectangle 0, 0. I'll be using a B size. So 17, 11. Let's zoom in. Let's go ahead and offset. So O enter. Type in a distance of 0.25. Enter. Let's go ahead and select this and then go down to this side, right? I'm going to go ahead and create some layers. So we'll go to the layer command. And some of the normal ones we're going to create is going to be HID. And that stands for our hidden layer. The next one we're going to use, let's go ahead and create a center one. We will need that one. The next one, if you want to, we can create a hatch layer. So this is just going to be a hatch one. We can also use a phantom layer if you want, or something for a section. That's going to be totally up to you if you want to do that. We can create a text layer, but we do need one more at a minimum, which is going to be the dimension layer, right? I always like to create a dimension, a hidden, and a center. So those are going to be the at least the 3 ones that you should create on each one of your drawings. Okay, so now that I have those done, let's go ahead and assign some color to them. Let's say our dimension one, let's put it on color number 1. Let's say our hatch, let's make it color number 3 for green. Let's see what our hidden one should be. And I know this drawing, we probably don't have any hidden layers. But let's go ahead and make it magenta. And then the center one, let's go ahead and make that a good cyan, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and close our hatch creation. Let's make this outside one. Let's go ahead and put it on that hidden layer. All right. Oh, I forgot to actually change the line types. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the layer properties here. And each one of these are sitting at continuous. So let's go ahead and adjust the hidden one first. So I'm going to select that, go to load, scroll down till you find hidden. Go ahead and hit OK on that one. Select it, hit OK. Hatch one should be fine, dimension should be fine, and the last one I need to adjust is make a center one, right? So let's go here, let's go to load, scroll down till we get to center 2, hit the OK button, go find the center 2 and hit load, and then, well, let's hit cancel on that. I meant to select it here and then hit OK instead of load. All right, and I'm just verifying that all of these are adjusted. So the center one is a center, the hidden one is a hidden. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and close this now. Let's go ahead and create this as a title block, right? So I'm just going to select it. I'll go ahead and hit the create button here. Once this dialog box appears, I'll type in TB. All of this other stuff should be good. You can see that I do have this scale uniformly checked. That's going to allow me to only have to change one number, right? So I'll go ahead and hit the OK button. We're going to select this. Let's do a right click and let's go to properties. Should open up your properties window where you see the scale X. I'm just going to go ahead and make this number 40. Let's hit escape, zoom out, and we can see that that should be enough room for us to fit everything, right? So I'm just going to move this stuff around. Remember, keep your title block where it's at. I'm going to move all of my other shapes. So I'll go to move. Let's put a window around here, hit enter. Pick a base point, and let's go ahead and turn off our ortho. That should allow me now to kind of freely move this around a little bit. Okay. This top one can come down a little bit. So remember that when you're moving these views, they have to stay in line with each other. So therefore I turn the ortho back on. Let's go ahead and move this down. Okay. And that should be enough room for what we need to create on here. Now, as far as your isometric, remember that this is nothing more than a pictorial, right? So I'm just going to scale this down maybe like 0.5 and put it up here in the corner. So I'll use the scale command. Put a window around it here. Hit enter. Pick a base point. Let's type in 0.5. And then we're going to go ahead and move that. So I'm just typing in commands now. So enter. Go ahead and select your objects. Hit enter. Pick a base point. Turn off the ortho. And then I'll go ahead and place it somewhere along here. That looks great. All right. Next thing I need to do is go ahead and put my center marks and center lines and things of that nature on. Another kind of hint that you should be seeing is that these should be hidden lines that should be going around here, right? So I know that I already adjusted the scale factor. This is scaled up by 40. I'm going to use the annotation scale on this one. So I'm just going to select in the fly up here. Go up and find the 1 to 40. Once I select that, I'll do a regen by typing in RE, hit enter, and you can see those hidden lines now should appear. Okay, let's go ahead and do our center marks and things of that nature. So the first command that I'm going to type in is going to be center EXE. Let's set that number to 5. And then we'll come around with our second command we're going to use. It's just going to be called center layer. And I'm just going to put that on the center, the one that we named as sin. I'm going to put it on that layer, right? So now we should be able to go ahead and put in all of our center marks and center lines. Let's jump over to the annotation. Let's go ahead and put our center marks in first. And I'm just going to continuously select these lines like so. As far as our center lines here, I'm just going to select these lines in between. Hit the enter button just to keep me going in this command. And one more enter. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a hatch. So I'm just going to jump back to the home tab. The hatch command is located here. I always adjust this number and set it somewhat equal to my scale factor, because you can see that it'll kind of try to create a blob here over everything. And that's not what I want it to do. It's going to give me an error because I actually clicked outside there. Let's close that. And now I'm able to select on the inside here. So I'll select here, and here, between here, and one more space which is located here. Go ahead and close the hatch creation there at the top. And now to go ahead and put this on the hatch layer, you'll notice that when you select it, this ribbon comes up. I still have my properties window up, which will make things nice and easy for me. So I can select here, then I can just select the hatch layer. Okay, so now we have all of our layers created. The next thing we need to do is let's go ahead and put our dimensions on here, right? So what I usually like to do is type in D, enter. Just kind of showing you the shortcuts. It's going to bring up here. Since we adjusted an annotation scale, I'm just going to double click on annotation. And what that's going to do is go ahead and set it as the current style. Let's go in to modify. Once again, I always start on the right side and work my way to the left. So I'm going to start at the primary units. I'm going to go ahead and suppress the trailing zeros here. I am going to use the decimal dimensions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fit. Remember that we're using annotation scale, so there's no need to adjust this number here. Underneath the text, let's go ahead and make the text height a little bit smaller. And then underneath the symbols and arrows, since we went through all of that trouble of making our symbols and arrows, our center marks, let's go ahead and turn them off. Okay, everything should be good to go. Let's hit close on that. Jump back to the annotation scale here, and then where it says use current, I'm going to select the drop down here and select decimal, right? Sorry, dimension. All right, now I have my dimensions ready to go. I should be able to do a lot of these dimensions. So I'm just going to go a linear dimension. Click from this endpoint to here. Go ahead and click here. I'm going to use the shortcut, so I'm just going to type in DCO. That just stands for dimension continue. Go ahead and hit the enter button. Then I can come here and select, hit escape, right? Let's go ahead and do our diameter dimensions. Remember that's DDI, that's the shortcut for it. So DDI, enter. I'm just going to select this outside here. I'll hit the enter button. I'll select this one here. Hit the enter button here. Select this one. Enter again. Select this one. Enter one more time. I'll select here. Okay, we do have a radius dimension that's going on here. So that's going to be DRA. And I'm kind of showing you the shortcuts just so you can kind of type those in and it'll be a lot quicker for you, right? All right. So I'm going to zoom into here for a second here because I know there's one dimension style I haven't used, and maybe, and you can see it, right? There's a little dot here. That's actually the center of this circle here that is showing. So you'll see when I select it here, this little dot here is the center of it. Well, maybe I don't want that to be the center, and I don't know if I ever put a jog dimension on one of my drawings before, but let's go ahead and delete this 100 dimension here. And then underneath the drop down here, let's go and find the jogged one, right? So we're going to go to jogged. We're going to read the command line. It says first select the arc. Okay, got that done. Then it says, hey, give me where you want the center to be. I want my center to look somewhere around maybe here. And the last thing it needs to do is go ahead and give me a location of where you want to put your text on this jog, right? I'm going to put it somewhere here. And then where do I want the jog to happen? And let's go ahead and move that up to about here, right? So now we have a jog dimension on there saying that the center is somewhere way off page, but we're going to go ahead and put a jog dimension on here just to show you that that would be the center. Now, ideally, when you have a jog dimension here, you want to put a center mark there, right? I can't use the center mark command, which is located, let's see, it used to be located on the other versions of AutoCAD, and they may have done away with it. Yep, I don't see it anymore, and I think the command was DCE, but it should kick me an error when I do this. Because when I go to here, it should say, hey, you can't do that, it's invalid. The reason why it's doing that is if I go to the D command again, go to my dimension styles, let's go back to modify. The reason it's going to do this is because you told it not to show any center marks, right? So if I turn this back on the mark, and I hit the OK button, and then I hit close, now I can use that DCE command that I was showing you about, and now it should work. It says, hey, go ahead and click the center point or the arc or whatever that nature of it is. So when I select it here, it's going to go ahead and put a little plus up here. I should be able to select that, and then I can move this down to here, right? And then I'll have to go back to my command in my dimension style and turn that off, right? So if you ever wanted to put a center mark on something, it can exist if you tell it to hide or basically turn off your center marks. So that's one of those things that you got to kind of know what's happening, or it's one of those, I guess, old commands that we used to do. But yeah, so now when I go to turn this off and hit OK and hit close, we already have our center mark there. And I can go ahead and put that on the correct layer since I'm sitting here looking at it. All right, so let's go ahead and put that on the center layer. Okay. Let's come down here to the bottom. Let's go ahead and add some more dimensions onto this. We're going to add a linear dimension here. So that's going to be DLI, enter. I'll select that midpoint to here, and then go to here, right? Let's go ahead and select this 20 here. Grab the center grip that's sitting on that 20. Go ahead and pull it down, and then come back this way. Let's go ahead and select our other dimensions here. So we're going to go ahead and do a DLI here. I'm going to select from this endpoint to this endpoint. Kind of drag out this direction. Now I can use a baseline on this one, and that's DBA. Enter. I can come up here, and I can simply select that endpoint. Hit escape. Now this is a little too close for my liking. You can adjust this, and once again, that's going to be in your dimension style. It does have a baseline number in there that we can adjust that with, but that's kind of up to you to find. Well, it's really not hard to find. I can actually show you where it's at, but we can adjust that spacing, and I'll do that in another video when we start discussing baselines. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start discussing to put our section line that's going through here, because this is a section view, right? So let's go ahead and zoom in just to this point here. Now I'm going to create this with a polyline. So I'll go to home, and I'm just going to create a simple polyline. I'm just going to select here. I'm not going to click on it. I'm just going to touch it, track off of it a little bit, do a left click here and put the ortho back on. Let's come over a certain distance, and this don't have to be accurate, but we can go 10, and then we can go up a distance of 10 again. And let's hit escape, right? Next, I'm going to go ahead and draw a quick arrowhead, and I'm going to use the polyline command again. So I'll just go to polyline. I'm going to click here as my starting one. And then I'm going to come down to the word width, right? So it says, give me a starting width. Let's go ahead and make that number 8. Give me an ending width. Let's make it 0. And now it just needs a height, right? So how far do I want to make this go up? Let's say 15. Looks good to me. Go ahead and hit escape, right? Let's go ahead and move this. And all I'm going to do is do this with the grip. So I'm going to select this arrowhead. I'll select this bottom grip, hit the space bar one time, and just place it onto that endpoint. Okay, so that's a quick arrowhead for us. Next, let's go ahead and put the text on the top of this. Now remember that I'm using a regular text. And let's go ahead and take a look at our text. I'm just going to type in ST. That stands for style, and that'll bring up my text dialog box. Right, so by default right now I'm using a regular text. I can show you the difference between if I use, depending on which text you want to use. So the first one I'm going to use the standard one, and then the next one I'm going to use the annotative one, since we have the annotation scale set. So this is going to be the standard method, is going to be the first way. Okay, so with the standard method I can use DT, stands for the text, right? Dynamic text. Let's go ahead and hit enter. It's asking me to give me a base point. I'm just going to click justify and tell it that I want to use the bottom center. So that's going to be my BC. It should ask you to select the bottom center point. I'm going to select here, and then the height of this. Let's say we want to make this 3/16 tall, right? So I'm going to use the calculator in AutoCAD to figure this out for me. So apostrophe CAL, hit enter. Now we have to do the math. So 0.1875 times the height, right? Times the scale factor. So I have the height of it, which is the 3/16, time whatever my scale factor is, which is 40. Once I hit enter, it's going to automatically figure that out. It's 7.5. And then it's asking me for a rotation angle. Let's go ahead and hit enter. And then it should be ready to type in the text. Let's use a capital A. Hit the click off somewhere and then hit escape, right? So that's one way of doing it. Now, if I change my scale, sorry, not my scale, my style, and I just typed in ST again, this is now my current style. Let's go ahead and hit close. And you're going to see the process should be a little bit simpler, right? So I'm going to use the dynamic text again, which is single line text. It's going to ask me for a justification. I'll just type in BC again, hit enter, and click here. Now it's asking me, give me the paper height. So I want the paper height to be 0.1875. I'll hit enter. You'll notice that I don't have to do any math. Give me a rotation. I don't have a rotation. I'll just hit enter. And when I do A and then click off somewhere and then hit escape, it did the math for me, right? So it's going to be strictly up to you on which one of these styles to use. So if you're understanding that you're using the annotative style, or you're using the annotative method down here at the bottom, it's a lot easier to use that annotative style, right? So it's one of those kind of neat things, are one of the benefits of using annotative scales. Let's go ahead and mirror these objects here. Hit enter. Let's go across from that endpoint to this endpoint. Go ahead and hit enter. All right. And then the last thing I need to do, well, next to the last thing I need to do, I need to label this down here at the bottom and tell it that it is a scale, right? Or whatever it is down here. This is a section. So I'm just going to use dynamic text again, DT, enter. I'm going to type MC, which stands for middle center, as my justification. I'll click somewhere here. So I'm just going to track off of that and click here. It says, give me the paper height. Remember that I'm using the annotative one, right? So I'm just going to type in 0.25. Go ahead and hit enter. I have no rotation. Go ahead and hit enter. Now I'm going to do a %U space. I'll type in section A-A, then one more space behind it. Remember that when you're using single line text, click somewhere and then hit escape. Because if you hit escape at the end of that, it will delete your text. All right, so we do have that labeled. Next, let's go ahead and just put the finishing touches on this text here. So I'm just going to use ED, which stands for edit text. Let's go ahead and select on the 50 there. I'm just going to go to the end of that, type in 2 places. I'll do the 81 as well. Go to the end of that, hit enter, 2 places. And then I'm going to go find this 100 one here. Let's go ahead and select that. And this is going to be at 4 places. Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, that should be everything we need to complete this drawing, right? So I'm looking around just to see if I forgot anything or if I misplaced anything, but that should be, you know, easy enough. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you made it here to the end, I suggest you do. I look forward to reading your comments and see if I messed up on this one. And the next time I'll do this one will be in 3D AutoCAD, and I will do this one also in Inventor. So thank you for watching again, and until the next time.